Okay, so I just want to say hi to Moses because we didn't get a chance to say hello earlier. What I've said to our speakers is if you're comfortable with it, what we would like to do is to record your speeches and then maybe put it on the website. If you're not happy with that, let me know because we won't use it. And if after the event you're not happy with it, just tell me and we can scrub it. It doesn't have to go onto the website or anywhere else if you don't want it. So we've got some fantastic people with us today. If I can just introduce briefly who they are and then I'll hand over to our first speaker. So we have Mariam, who is with the WAST. She can talk a little bit about that if she wants to. And somebody was talking about Little Amal earlier when we were talking, and Mariam has sung to Little Amal. That was part of what happened in Manchester. We've got Oji, who some of you will have met before, who can talk about his situation. He's a great speaker and has done all sorts of, he does a lot of things and has a lot of very interesting ideas about how we use language because of his experiences and the things he's interested in. And then Moses. Moses is somebody who I've met fairly recently who is out talking every weekend. He is one of the most prolific speakers that I've known for a while, all over the place at demonstrations, talking to people about how it is. So I look forward to hearing from him. And the fourth person who was going to join us, but as happened last year, she's been double booked. And I think she's talking at Migrants Organised meeting tonight, but she has recorded the poetry that she was going to talk about, that she was going to recite during today's session. So we won't lose Loraine. Right, so Mariam, Oji, Moses, welcome to all of you. And I'm not going to say any more about you. You can say what you like. If you need to repeat what Mariam said already about messages, then that's really helpful. It's just what you think is really important about how we change the conversation. What would you like people to be saying? Mariam, welcome.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you, everybody, for having me. Not all of you know my organization, so I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Mariam Yusuf, and I'm a member of Women Asylum Seekers Together, based in Manchester. So, and it's in short, it's called WAST. So, Women Asylum Seekers Together is called WAST Manchester. It's a grassroots organization. It's led by and for the women. So it's the women who lead the organizations themselves. We campaign for social justice and women's rights through a peer-led support model that helps women find their place in the UK. And our mission, that's our mission. So we have values that we came up and wrote ourselves. So our values is compassion, we empathize, respect, we listen and believe, inclusion, we welcome, empowerment, we raise women's voices. And as you can see what I've said about our values, this is what women seeking asylum expect from the public. Empathy, listened to, believed, and most of all, welcome. Now, we want to change the asylum conversation. Yes, the system is not broken. It is designed. By creating a fair, efficient system that works, will help for people not to be detained. Because if the system is fair, there won't be any reason for being detained. And with a fair system, the waiting period of waiting for 20 years would not happen because the system is fair and somebody has been judged fairly. So there's this narrative that we people seeking asylum get. And I say people seeking asylum because mostly you find people saying asylum seekers. That takes it brings the leveling. So when we go up there, we speak, we make sure we say people seeking sanctuary, people seeking asylum. Because when you say asylum seekers, somebody already puts you in a bracket and gives you all kinds of labels. Stranger, economic migrant, illegal, they'll call you all the names. So, and the media is not helping in any way. So they share negative stories, and we don't share the positive stories of the people seeking asylum. It's just the negative. So when you switch on your TV or listen to the news or read the news, it's a negativity. And that negativity is projected all the way to the people seeking asylum. And then when the public sees that, they discriminate upon people seeking asylum, and they judge them and even racially abuse them. So this is what we go through day to day basis. Because when we came to the country, in my organization, women have sought asylum for different situations. Domestic violence, FGM, that is female genital mutilation, sexual orientation, forced marriages, and even trafficked to the UK to become domestic house helps. We have all those women in our organization. And what brings us together in common is we are seeking sanctuary. So already we are in a situation that we are trying to tackle what has happened to us, and then we receive that hostile environment, not only from the government, but from the public. And it becomes very difficult to integrate because we find women are given accommodation in areas where it is predominantly white, and they're expected to integrate into the society, but it's not very easy, because we find women in my organization come and give complaints to us that they've been abused racially because of, they see them that, oh, this is a foreign person, and they don't know the person. They don't want to get close because they see it on the TV, and then they come and say, oh, they are the ones, they are the ones. So a woman is taking her children to school. She's got a neighbor who has the children also going to the same school, but the neighbor does not know her. They only say hi and talk about the weather. And that's as far as it goes. So they will not know. So in WAST, what we have done is make sure we try and integrate as much as we can. And in our women, with our women, we have a nice choir. And with this choir, we compose the songs written by us about our situation and sung about happiness. And as Sheila mentioned it, we were privileged to sing for Amal, to welcome Amal to Manchester. And through the choir, I think we have built a lot of relationships, because we felt that nobody wants us. We feel like we don't belong. How can we fit in? People are, and in what we do, some of us take the different route of campaigning and protesting, while others are not able to do that. They like something laid back, building relationship. So with our women, some of them, we go out, we sing, and I think through our choir, we have made relationship, we've been invited, because people have got to know us. So they invite us back, not to go sing for them, to have lunch and get to know us. And this is the building of the relationship. And I can give an example. I think before the COVID, a church community in the Peak District came to us and said they would want to invite us to go and have a picnic, women and the family. but we were not sure if women are going to be comfortable because this is a white community and we are not used to mixing. But our volunteers just said, probably we just give it a trial. And the trial actually worked because they wanted to know about us because they didn't know who a person seeking asylum is. I mean, why are they here? So the project of the visit worked so well that every year they used to hire 2 buses. They bring about 60 or 80 women to the Peak District. We go for the picnic by the river, and they have really supported us and came and asked what the women want. And it's not very often that you get the public. So as we said, the persuadables. So I would categorize this group as the persuadables because they did not know, and now they came and asked what we would want to do. Women said we want to do some of handwork. Like now they gave us sewing machines, and the women are actually doing that and thriving. And we are in the process of trying to see if we can generate income by making stuff. And to me, I feel that is building relationships. It starts with your neighbor. You don't have to go very far. Having coffee, and then with the community sharing the food. And that's how the spread of the love. And that's how you can show compassion to somebody, because you meet somebody on the streets, you don't know the person. If we have a chat and talk, I think this can change the mentality of the public. Because I don't think the government is made of the public, because the MPs we elect to go and represent us, they are also the public. So we can't just say the government. We have work to do, get close to the public. And I'm happy, I am excited about this Rwanda, the flight to Rwanda. There was a lot of, solidarity from all over the place. Everybody was up in arms, saying, no, it's not. It's undoable, it's unthinkable, this is wrong. And that is how we should live in a society. When something is wrong, we stand up in arms, get the support. Yes, the 12% are just the minority, but the 64%, if they are persuadables, then they can come and support us even better. So in WAST, I think the next step we are doing now is building relationships and getting into the community and showing them we are here. Yes, we've been through a lot. We have suffered trauma and everything, because sometimes you find the public are fearful of the people seeking asylum, thinking that, we are terrorists, we are murderers, we've got, these are human beings who had a life before, and they've just come for safety. And to show them that we are able to rebuild our lives again is just having that normal conversation, being given a chance. And I believe it can happen. And I can see the public now is understanding and not relying so much on the media, because the media is out to make money. They are in business. So,
Mariam, I'm going to stop you in a minute, darling, because we need to move on.
Okay.
But thank you for those very positive messages about what actually works from experience. And obviously you talked as well about language that people can use, and that's a really good start. Thank you. Lovely. Right, I'm going to move on next to Oji, who I think has a PowerPoint. Oji, I think you're going to be enabled to use your PowerPoint. Let's just check and see if it works. Thank you, Mariam.
Let me check. Okay, I think I can share. Okay, I can. Let me see. Okay.
Yeah, we
Can,
can
can
see
you see
that.
my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me open it. Okay. Let me, okay, I only have 10 minutes. Just a second. Okay, there. Okay, so good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me here. So my name is Rogelio Braga, but you may call me Audrey. And so for tonight, I have 10 minutes and to talk about my experience and then my perspective and my experience as someone who has undergone into the system. So, and I think the best way for me to share something to you is to perform myself. Okay, so and perform myself, and then for you to be able to get um, insights from my experiences and on how I dealt with the UK's asylum system. Okay, so before I begin, I just want to show this picture, and that's me. And it's okay to show this because this is public, and that's me. And these were my students. So this is in somewhere in the mountain area of northern Thailand. So this was in 2017. So I was teaching English to Karen. So it's an ethnic group between Thailand and Burma and in the mountains. So I teach them English. This was me in 2017. I was a teacher, so I also taught in universities, but I also go to Thailand. We can't understand each other, so they can't speak English. They can't speak my language. I cannot speak their language, but I was a teacher there. Now, this is the most interesting part. So that's me. I'm happy. This was also in 2017, but this is somewhere in the boundaries between Burma and Thailand. So these were my students, and they are hopefully some of them already got their status. So there are stateless people, refugee, or or asylum seekers waiting for a third country which they're going to be repatriated, usually in Canada or in Australia. So I was teaching English to refugees and asylum seeker, and I was able to do that because during this time I was able to get funding for research from the Rockefeller Foundation in New York. So I have money, so I have nothing else to do. I'll teach. Go to them. So this is me. So why did I share that with you? Because um, I want to tell everyone here that I am a refugee, but I am also is a teacher. I used to teach English to refugee stateless children before I arrived in the UK in 2018. So it was very far from my imagination that 2 years after teaching refugees, asylum seekers, and stateless people in Thai-Burma border, I will end up like a refugee myself. So never in my imagination, in my 38 years of my life, that I will end up in this situation like my students. So this thing can happen to everyone. So before I left the UK, I have a publishing house, I have a theater company, I have 13 cats, I have my own apartment and a job that allowed me to roam around the Philippines for research. I used to teach in 2 universities. I have books publish. And believe it or not, I have fans in the Philippines because I'm a writer. And of course, I have enemies. Now, my asylum story is, as you may know, I think if you have an idea, that's our president, Duterte, came to power in 2016. So until now that we're here, talking, the killings actually continue. So, but during this time, it was a massive killings, intimidation, and persecution. Just so you know, last weekend, I worked with International Pen to release a statement because some of my friends, poets and short story writers and artists, 96 of them were taken by the police, illegal arrest, police brutality, and then they all sent to jail. So but they were released last Sunday with a bail of about 3.5 million pesos. So it's a judicial harassment. So this is the kind of environment since 2016 to 2018 until I left the country for the UK. And I came here in the UK as a British government scholar. So meaning I applied for scholarship, like 1,600 of us, 36 were um, taken to come here in the UK, and thinking that I am going home after 10 months, and I will return to my job and I have a university, a degree from the UK, continue my life, etc. However, in 2019, I can no longer return home, and then my family has to move from one place to another because of sustained and persecution. We are being targeted by, I am being targeted by the regime because of the things that I've written against the government and my activities as a human rights activist in the Philippines. So, and in the Philippines, I was a playwright, a novelist, and a human rights and political activist. Now, when I received January 2019, when I was told you should never return to the country, you can no longer go back. My family told me go to another country. It took me like 10 months before I seek asylum because just to share this with you, because I was so afraid to be an asylum seeker in the UK because of one thing, the stigma. Because while I'm studying here for the first 3 months of my life here, I was bombarded with a lot of news, conversations, images, people inside the classroom, outside the classroom, in spaces that I occupy about asylum seekers. So when I received the news that I can no longer return, I tried my best to to find a way of not to return to the Philippines and leave UK, because I don't want to be subjected to this kind of stigma attached by the British people to asylum seekers and refugees. But of course, I failed to find a third country. I was being asked also by the body that sent me here for scholarship that you can stay here. If you can return to the Philippines, move out of the UK. So, and my visa is running out. So I filed for an asylum, bite the bullet. And I was screened in November 19 in Dover. And then I was interviewed in November, a year after 2020. And it took them several months to release the decision in January 2022. Somewhere in between, they lost my papers. So and so one of my colleagues in the Philippines was taken by the police, and then I panicked. Then I called my solicitor. Can you check with the Home Office the status of my case? And then when we checked, they lost the papers. So and it actually it made me it affected me because my life is in limbo since I was since I filed for an asylum. Now, I always tell this to people and to my friends and to fellow asylum seekers and refugees that my asylum story is very, very different. And I'm sure your asylum story is also different. But for me, I am very, very careful whenever I tell my story to people because I don't want to be used as a tool to perpetuate a certain idea that we only receive good asylum seekers in this country. So I came in this country, I am educated, I can speak the language, I can read documents, I can read people's culture, and I am familiar with what is a refugee, what is an asylum, because I used to teach students with the same situation. So I was very, very careful whenever I share my experience to flag it that, my asylum experience is different. So while I'm on my waiting for my decision, I was able to get commission to write plays. This is a very hard experience for me, a very tough experience because in the Philippines, I write in my own language in Filipino. and I don't write in English. Why should I write in English? Because it's the language of of our colonizers. So I mean, for 3 decades or two and a half decades, that's how I look at the English language. But because of my situation here, I have to survive and to continue my life. I have to learn to write in the English language. So luckily, I got commission plays. I was able to enter the university, and I work in migrant organization, but still continue to organize writers in the Philippines. Now, I just want to share this with you. So how did I get the commission in the play? So there was a call for
Oji,
some.
Oji, sorry, I just want to hurry you up a little. Is that all
Okay.
right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
So that's so it's actually I spoke with people, and I told them my situation, and they actually tried to not follow the hostile environment, the rules and regulations. That's why I was able to get into the university. I was able to commissions. Now, this is based on my experience, and we talk about the language. So what I have observed is that when people talk about asylum seeker and refugees here, there is always a tendency to homogenize people, experiences, history, races, and struggle. I even receive a joke if I cross the English Channel when I told them that I am an asylum seeker, because it's how the media told them, what's an asylum seeker, and the process of homogenizing our experience and histories, etc., has a specific function. This is my observation. It's political and not humanitarian. Why? And this is my observation, because it is easy to target a specific vulnerable group, meaning cannot talk back to the system if we are homogenized. And I also observe that hostile environment has its own language, and the language of the hostile environment, the function is literally to legitimize the hostile environment. So I think Marian mentioned about the hostile environment. So basically, the point of that is to make the environment hostile, so migrants will leave the country voluntarily. Okay, so that's how it is. But always remember that language formation in the hostile environment is not possible if people are not participating. So the British public is actually participating in the legitimization of the hostile environment. And I think if we have a question and answer later, we can address this. And the system was really designed to be hostile. Even in my asylum interview, the guy interviewing me, substantive interview, is like a kid wearing a Hollister shirt, sweatshirt, and then he can't even spell what is martial law. So, it was really designed to be hostile and to fail. And just to make sure that the 2019 election actually horrified me, because it's in your face that the government is campaigning for a racist position, and people, overwhelmingly voted for it. So it retained into me. So last two slides. So how did I survive the asylum process? Because I have the privilege to and the language. I know the language, and I know how to read government text. So the knowledge of the asylum system. I studied also the knowledge of the culture of the British people, the culture, politics, and the issues surrounding the British asylum system. And I found a community to support me, and easy access to mental health service, because it's really, really, really hard to be seeking asylum, and then you're thinking of your country, and you're thinking your situation here, a bifurcated struggle, and a problem. And of course, I redesigned my life. I lived by the day when I was seeking asylum, and because anytime I can be asked to leave the country. So how to change the conversation about the asylum system and refugees? So these are my suggestions. And one is that we should be very, very critical of any infrastructures that homogenizes asylum seekers. Our history, our races, experiences, and struggle. Of course, I can speak the language. I am not like, some people will say, oh, you're an asylum seeker. How come you can speak English? That's so weird. The first step to knowledge is to acknowledge that the hostile environment, is existing, it is there, it is concrete. The third is refuse to participate. This saved me when British people actually refuse, like universities, commissioning theater companies, refuse to participate in the hostile environment. And of course, refuse the language of the hostile environment. And lastly, so things that I do currently after getting my refugee status, I got this last January. Currently, my life is in transition. I am struggling and I am trying to function like a normal human being, but I know I will be fine. And I continue to campaign for, freedom of expression in the Philippines and to end the hostile environment in the UK. And currently, my activism is not just in my creative process, but in the streets, in the community, in my words, and in my theater. So what I'm doing right now is I'm continuing my life. I am writing. So and I think this is the reason why I was sent here or thrown thrown here in the UK or thrown out of my country. And I think the best way to continue my life is to continue writing.
I hope so, Oji.
Yes.
I happen to know because I see some of the things that Oji's doing on Facebook, and he is highly political in what he does. He's brilliant. So thank you very much, Oji. And that perspective of being somebody who heard asylum seekers being talked about when you were here with a visa, and that fear of becoming one because of what you heard was really powerful, very powerful. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next person we're going to hear from is Moses. Moses, are you there? Hello. Hi, Moses.
Hello, hello.
Hiya.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you. Now, I know that you can speak for long periods of time, so I might need to interrupt you if you if you speak longer than we have time for. It is, in some ways, it's very helpful to have people with 10-minute slots because we can get a variety of ideas then. But sometimes it's frustrating because each one of those people could speak to us for a whole meeting. I know that. But thank you, Moses. So you can introduce yourself and I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Moses Mbano, and I come from Zimbabwe. And I live in Newcastle upon Tyne with my partner Daisy and my three children. Yeah, that's me. I'm so happy that I listened to quite a few of very good points that have been laid out by the first speakers. What we are experiencing in this country is asylum seekers. Fundamentally, we are asylum seekers and we are refugees. And according to the descriptions, a refugee or an asylum seeker is somebody who is seeking sanctuary outside of his or her native country. But when we come to a country like England, it's like the terminology changes and they seem not to recognize what an asylum seeker is or what a refugee is, and what drives those people to become or to fall in those categories of asylum seekers and refugees. It's only because of hostile environment that was created by institutions of this country. And like somebody said, we got certain expectations. We ran away from hostile environments, from where we belong. Like in Zimbabwe, we got a regime that does not recognize the human rights. It's been noted by the UNHCR, it's been noted by world bodies that Zimbabwe is totally on the opposite. And that is exactly why we were driven out of that country, trying to find a way where we can sustain and raise our families. However, the British government, when we came over here, is actually trying as well to crush everything that we are trying to achieve. That's why we ended up like joining into loads of activism groups so that we can highlight the importance or the meaning of why we are here. Like if I take for myself at the moment, I do required by law, immigration law, that you have to report to a certain reporting center per certain interval. But mine is week. It was weekly, but it's been changed to fortnightly. And by that, they do not support. They don't support you financially. They don't give you travel warrants so that you can actually manage to travel to and fro. Because the reporting center that they say I should go to report to is 46 miles away from where I live. And what they only want is to actually describe their their hostile environment. What they want is you to fail. So when you fail, they gain facts that you did not do as required by law. So it is a struggle that not only myself will be facing, but many people are facing. The groups that somebody mentioned about that they go and do the singing, they do this and that, they do this and that. But all is all about strength. We need to have that strength to go out and show that we are people that are looking for survival. We're looking for sanctuary. But the government of the UK is not recognizing that. We've been fighting for a long time. We go to Zim embassy, meet up with loads of people. We speak to the embassy employees, and we try to ask loads of questions, which you can just see these people, they don't care. So we want them to actually realize and notice that whatever activities that are being done in 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 our countries, they are improper humanly, they are inhumane. So from there we go to we visit detention centers like the last weekend I was in Gatwick from Newcastle. We drive to Gatwick. We've been there in that group, and we managed to speak to the detainees as well. And these people are actually suffering inside there. The hostilities they are facing, they are just, they can break you down simply because you are like as you are like in a zoo. You are not allowed to do anything. You can't deviate. You can't move left, right, or center. You have to live and abide by what they want you to do. But the Geneva Convention, it did recognize people that ran away from persecution and said they must be protected in the first country of their entry. But the UK, we know the government is always in parallel with anything, anything. We have witnessed Boris Johnson, we have witnessed the British Party, we have witnessed how this government, how evil this government can be and it can go. So by that, they say we must be included as long as somebody is running away to protect or save their lives. Those people need to be protected. They need to be recognized. So these are some of our expectations: inclusion, value, respect, welcoming, and recognize. We all need those kind of things. But we end up um, asking ourselves why there is asylum and refugees. What are common factors that drive asylum and refugees? How does the world respond to these factors? Is there any means to curb immigration in that manner? And what are the injustices asylum seekers and refugees are facing? Does the UNHCR actually work to protect asylum seekers and refugees? Does the detention of asylum seekers and refugees humane? So we come up with loads and loads of questions asking ourselves, but the only people that's supposed to answer, they always deviate from the point. They see asylum seekers as people that come to finish or to plunder, while there are people that are with genuine reasons why they fled their own country. They came to seek sanctuary. Full stop. We want to be included in the culture of the British people. We want also to be allowed to take up employment. We also want to contribute to Her Majesty, to the taxes. We got so many to give rather than us receiving. We got plenty to give. So we want this government to actually recognize us as human beings. But now the narrative is they are trying to sow a seed of hate amongst asylum seekers and refugees. Some are saying open arms, some are saying out. So that one alone, it produces a divide within the communities. That why you guys, like say, for example, the Ukrainians, why are you being welcomed with open arms? There is war there. We ran from war with dodged bombs and bullets the same way, in the same manner. But why these ones alone? So that will cause a confusion within the communities. So the government doesn't realize that. People always say, "Oh, if I meet a Ukrainian, then I'm not supposed to communicate with this one." But why are they people? Why not me? So we've got a lot of questions that we'll never manage to get answers for. So what I would want is to keep on fighting this battle for everybody, not just for myself, but I want all the people to be set free. At the moment, all asylum seekers and refugees, they are not free. They are still running. Here we are running from the tourists and their government. Outside the country, we are running from other people as well. So what we are trying to do is, what we are trying to achieve, what we're trying to do is to make the government understand where we belong and where we're coming from and where we go. Those are the fundamentals that we are looking to be addressed so that every person will understand. I was in our town 2 nights consecutively, up to yesterday. The communities of the British society, they are actually seeing that the government is doing the very, very wrong move simply because they've been uh, under informing the communities of what an asylum seeker is and the why and the what drives them. In the other hand, you'll find that they are supplying and sponsoring ammunitions to those countries that drives us out of that country. But what is for them is business. So when they go to business selling weapons, they got a business putting us in detention as well. So we are being made as money makers. For British Patel to say they want to deter, the people that put people, asylum seekers in the channel, in the waters there, it's actually rubbish. Simply because they are actually making business with us. Now they've made business with Rwanda. So they are turning us into, like, we are commodities. We can be turned into cash. That's business. So we want our bodies to stand up and say, no, we want these people to be treated fairly and equally so that they can be recognized, they can integrate with the societies locally so that we can produce and we can give and we can receive. So it's about that, give and take. We are not only here to finish up the NHS, but if you look in the NHS, you find that the majority of the work employees there, they are all asylum seekers. So we want the government to understand that no, it's not about that. But the other thing could be just the heads.
Moses, I'm going to have to cut you short in a minute. So just if you can just come to the final points, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just sum up. So about these things, so that's exactly why we keep on our activism groups functioning is trying to make those people that are afraid to come forward to actually bloom and say their plights so that they can be welcomed in a certain manner. Together we can build something, but if we keep on separating, I think we are bound to lose.
Thank you. That was really helpful. I think the issue about the Geneva Convention and how the language changes once you become somebody seeking asylum in the UK is something I hadn't thought about before, but that's really, really important. And particularly those bits at the end where you're talking about how the government's making money by selling arms, by using deportations, by using detention centres by Rwanda, and that people in the system sometimes feel like they're commodities. Very, very powerful stuff. So thank you very much. That was lovely. We're going to hear a video from Loraine in just 1 minute, but if I can just say to our 3 guest speakers, thank you so much for joining us. We are hoping that you'll stay with us for a while if you can, because we're going to go into breakout groups a bit later on when there'll be a bit of discussion going on with other people that are joining us. If you need to go, then that's fine, but that's been very, very valuable. Thank you.